As the final battle of Pokemon's World Coronation Series enters its second phase, Ash Ketchum has stumbled into serious trouble. But not everything was doom and gloom, so let's talk about it. Hey Charles, it's everyone. How are you today? Ash Ketchum got off to a strong start in the final match of the World Coronation Series Masters 8 tournament, but by the end of the episode, the reigning monarch Leon had begun to assert his dominance. And in Pokemon Journey's episode 130, titled Toying Around, the Purple Panther has Ash up against the ropes once again. As the summary on the TV Tokyo website puts it, it's the final battle of the Masters 8 tournament, Ash versus Leon. Coming out the gates, the two competitors swung back and forth, but it looks like Leon's Pokemon and strategies are gradually getting the better of Ash. Ash finally gets a handle on Leon as he switches Pokemon, but even that was part of Leon's strategy? Yes it was, and part 2 of Ash's epic final battle of Pokemon Journeys was just as crazy as the first, so today's plan is to 1. Break down the match state from the end of episode 129, 2. Review the second phase of the climactic clash, and 3. Discuss what is coming down the pipeline. So let's begin. In part 1 of Ash vs Leon, we saw strokes of brilliance from both sides. Leon led with Cinderace and Ash with Pikachu, but Ash was forced into a hasty substitution when Leon activated Cinderace's Libero ability to turn its typing to ground and shut Pikachu out from the get-go. Just like that, Ash came out of the first scuffle with nothing but super effective damage laid down on his Pikachu, and Leon's Pandora's box of big party tricks had been opened. Up next, Ash's Gengar came out to bat, but Leon switched into Inteleon, continuing to control the battle and even showing Ash up by dominating Gengar with one of Ash's own improvised techniques, Counter Shield. And this forced Ash to Gigantamax Gengar early, lest Leon continue forcing switches while stacking up the damage on his Pokemon. But unfortunately for Ash, Leon's Inteleon continued to hold its own, revealing that it could dual wield, firing off dual wield sniper shots to negate the brunt of Gengar's first G-Max attack and cracking it right between the eyes. On the bright side, Ash was able to prevent Inteleon from retreating with G-Max Terror, and Big G eventually did overwhelm Double O Lizard with Max Ooze, although it did take a Dark Pulse to the chops that shrank it back into Vanillagar in the process. At this point, we had already seen Leon outclass Ash at just about every turn, with Ash drawing first blood merely because he decided to expend his G-Max battle mechanic to overpower Inteleon before things got out of hand. Of course, Leon has altered the match rules such that Ash can use all 3 of his battle mechanics, so Mega Evolution and 10 million volt Thunderbolt are still in the tank. But surely Ash is not trading as well with Leon as he would have hoped, given that Leon's next Pokemon, Funny Uncle Dennis, came out and dunked on Gengar with a Freeze Dry plus Psychic Terrain plus Expanding Force combo to tip the scale back in Leon's favor. Well, that is where match 1 ended, with the match state looking like this. And while the knockout counter remains notched at 1 apiece, Ash has a tough road ahead of him regardless of the fact that he has 2 extra battle mechanics to roll out. As Mr. Rhyme is looking to be a real pain in the butt, Cinderace is a lurking threat with its tricky Libero ability, and Leon's Dragapult, Broken Green Monkey, and the ace of aces have yet to see play. Meanwhile, Ash's lead man has sustained a super effective blow, not to mention that he is bringing a comparatively less experienced team up against World Championship veterans. And with that said, part 2 begins. We knew from the episode preview that at the very least, Ash's Dracovish, Dragonite, Sirfetch'd, and Lucario would see action in this episode, and this gave me some expectations from the get-go. 1, that the boys would bring out the same caliber of valor that we saw against Cynthia. 2, that Lucario would be going mega on us, because it was in the trailer. And 3, that Ash's Dragonite would need to redeem itself. As a beloved character who started Pokemon Journeys as the pillar of Ash's team through to the middle of the series, but has been doing absolutely nothing but taking lumps since Ash's Hyperclass battle against Raihan. So considering that this is the final, the time is now or never for sweet Mama Hugonite to make a comeback. Furthermore, based on what we've seen in episode 129, as well as bits from the special preview trailer and episode 130 preview trailer, we could infer that part 2 and probably the remainder of the battle is going to be a meticulous switchathon, aka the best kind of Pokemon anime battle. And with these expectations in mind, I jumped into the episode. So let's break down what happened. The battle picks up where we left off, with Gengar down for the count, and Ash sending in Sirfetch'd to fight the good fight, putting a fighting monotype out against Weird Uncle Dennis just after it floored Gengar with a psychic type attack. Sounds like a great idea. To be fair, Ash did not have particularly great options on the table. A damaged Pikachu he will want to save for when it counts, a Dragonite who Mr. Rhyme could hit for quadruple weakness, Mr. Fish a card better held in hand to swing against Charizard, Rillaboom, and Dragapult, and actually, Lucario probably would have been a better choice. Of course, I'm only being half sarcastic, as Ash's Surf Edge happens to know Fury Cutter, with which it can hit Mr. Rime for weakness, and regardless of any type disadvantage of its own, Surf Edge is a heavy hitter, and he takes the fight to Mr. Rime, parrying attacks and getting all up in Mr. Rime's face. But before long, Weird Uncle Dennis gets the leg up on Shirtless Donald, so after having Surf Edge cleverly eliminate Mr. Rime's psychic terrain effects with Fury Cutter, Ash determines that Surf Edge duty is done for the time being, with Surf Edge returning to the hand, and Ash sending Lucario in to fight the good fight. And so Lucario enters the fray and happens to resist Ice-type attacks, not to mention that it can strike Mr. Rime for weakness with Bullet Punch. Needless to say, it gets the job done. In short, Ash has Lucario go Mega as soon as it hits the pitch, and after a short scuffle, Ash and Lucario capitalize on their Aura Bond to charge an Aura Sphere and let it rip to snag the KO on Mr. Rime. Next up is Leon's Dragapult, and prior to this battle, we hadn't seen anything from Dragapult in sanctioned matches, aside from a still shot of it battling against Diantha, so much of its capabilities were shrouded in mystery. As for Lucario, Lucario only knows one move that can even damage Dragapult, so it leaps into action with Bullet Punch. But as soon as Lucario begins taking heat from Flamethrower, Ash opts for a switch. Next up, out comes Dracovish, aka Mr. Fish. Mr. Fish has made a name for itself in Pokemon Journeys by employing unconventional tactics that catch opponents off guard and rack up the W's. And it certainly brought the surprise factor into play once again in today's phase of the Ash vs. Leon struggle. For instance, when Dragapult uses Dragon Darts, Mr. Fish shocks the stadium by eating the attack. Talk about exotic cuisine. Unfortunately, the meal doesn't go down so well, with another Dreepy swooping in for the Gut Punch to pump out its sibling, which actually ends up pissing Dracovish off so much that it suddenly manifests creepy ethereal fangs out of its stomach. Just look at those creepy things. And recognizing the danger, Leon tries to shut the game down quickly, but Dracovish manages to ensnare Dragapult with its creepy ethereal stomach fangs and clamps down on its head, crunching Dragapult into submission with Strong Jaw plus Ice Fang. Only for Leon to force a change in the nick of time with Dragon Tail, a damage-inflicting move that knocks the target away, dragging out another Pokemon in the process, forcing Ash to switch into Dragonite, with Leon proceeding to stack up the damage on Dragonite before using Dragon Tail again to push Dragonite out for Ash's Lucario. At this point, Ash has to be pretty frustrated, and things are not about to get any better for Ash, as when Lucario moves in with Bullet Punch, it gets paralyzed by Thunderbolt and goes down for the count just moments later. And I don't know about you, but losing Mega Lucario so early on really caught me off guard. That said, Ash wastes no time mourning the Batman Jackal and decides to bring Dragonite back into the match. At last, it is Dragonite's opportunity to redeem herself. Right off the get-go, the battle gets messy as Dragonite's Hurricane and Dragapult's Thunderbolt clash in the middle of the stadium, with Dragonite getting the worst of the exchange. Next, Dragonite flies into the sky to let loose Draco Meteor, and Dragapult tries to counter with Dragon Darts. Those little things are quite nimble and weave their way around Hugonite's projectiles, but they are no match for the full force of Big Mama, and Dragonite races in with its Draco Meteor flanked charge attack, which Ash dubs Kairyu Seigun, a play on the Japanese name for Draco Meteor, such that it sounds like Dragonite Shower, and the move takes Dragapult straight to the cleaners. And with that, Dragonite redeems itself at long last. Just as Leon's knockout in part 1 was a team effort, Ash can thank Lucario and Dracovish for setting up the dunk, Dragonite for delivering, and the team is ready to address the next threat together. Unfortunately for Dragonite, Leon recognizes it as a threat and sends in a powerhouse even Dragonite is no match for to put it down. That broken monkey, Rillaboom. Then again, Dragonite could very well surprise us. To sum things up, Leon and Ash exchange words. Leon points out that while Ash may have taken the knockout, his team is in shambles. And with that, part 2 of the battle concludes. And I can't wait to see how part 3 unfolds. Once again in part 2, we saw Leon hit Ash with both raw power and strategic brilliance. Ash may be the most unpredictable man in the game, which gives him an edge in any confrontation, but Leon has all the strategic ducks lined up, and for the most part he's been able to read Ash as easily as a copy of the Hungry Caterpillar. And by dropping nasty little bananas like Libero, Counter Shield, Dual Wield Snipe Shot, Freeze Dry plus Psychic Terrain plus Expanding Force, and of course, Dragon Tail, as well as making well thought out substitutions, the man has proven the haters wrong by demonstrating that he isn't just a brute force Freddy, but has a trick for every Rick, and as a result, Ash Ketchum is really feeling the heat. And yet, Ash is not a regional champion who took down the second and third best trainers in the world simply because they rolled over and let him walk over them. He's here in the final because he has the unpredictability, the heart, and the solid fundamentals that enable him to clash with the best of the best like no one else can. And accordingly, as much as Leon appears to have had the upper hand in the battle thus far, Ash is still in it to win it and has a good shot of coming out on top. So what's next? The details are honestly anyone's guess. But to size up the competition, on Leon's side, Rillaboom, Cinderace, and Charizard are still on deck, and on Ash's side we have Dragonite, Sirfetch'd, Dracovish, and Pikachu. Ash may have pulled ahead, but his entire team is in poor condition, and thus it looks like the next episode may be a tough one for the man from Pallet Town. Of course, regardless of how events play out, I still see the final showdown coming down to the Charizard versus Pikachu struggle we all expected. As for that battle, I really do hope to see the two use up their battle mechanics early on and go at it in an artful vanilla clash to wrap things up. But how about you? What is next in the biggest battle the Pokemon anime has ever seen, and who will emerge victorious? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and as always, let's chat.